Hi, it's so nice to talk to you again.
Hi, good to talk to you too.
So, Arizona is back to school pretty early in the country.
Yeah, I just went we did a really awesome back to school shopping experience with the Boys and Girls Club over the weekend. So helped a fourth grader pick out some new things. So yeah, we do start pretty early here.
That's such a cool event. Oh my gosh, I love that.
It was really fun.
Oh my gosh. So, I have been watching you navigate this voucher mess in Arizona. My followers know I talk about Arizona all the time in terms
Okay.
of the voucher situation because you guys have such widespread vouchers. You were one of the first to do it, and it didn't go great. So I wanted to know what's the latest? How are you feeling? How do things stand right now as schools go back?
Yeah, big problem here. So, Arizona has consistently ranked really low nationally when it comes to our public education system. And there's one very clear reason for that, and it's that we do not invest enough in our public school system. We are always teetering around 48th in the country for our public school system. And at the same time, our voucher program just continues to expand and balloon out of control. We have a Republican controlled state legislature that is really hell bent on expanding the voucher program. It has been a massive failure as well in the state because there have been so many instances of the Republicans' favorite terminology, waste, fraud, and abuse, when it comes to vouchers here in the state. It's estimated that about 77% of vouchers are being utilized by folks who live in the wealthiest zip codes. And so we're continuing to kind of worsen and exacerbate the existing disparities when it comes to our education system and a lot of abuse of what vouchers are being used for. We have seen egregious examples where vouchers have been used for expensive pianos or ski trips or Lego sets. And I think that the Arizona case needs to be studied and used as an example of what not to do. And it's really concerning to see that the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, very openly and proudly talks about wanting a national voucher program, which I have questioned her on.
Yeah, and the very first time that you at least appeared on C-SPAN in the Education and Workforce Committee, I was like so grateful that you were talking about these egregious misuses of these vouchers. Like Lego sets, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole thing for me with like the federal expansion that they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to push, it's like it saddens me deeply as a teacher and a parent, well, a former teacher and a parent, because we care so much about our kids. So when they're saying things like this is going to help kids, we're going to expand school choice, and we're going to, it's going to sound really nice and really fluffy. And then in actuality, when we look at what's going on in Arizona, that's a lie.
It's a lie.
And they're
Yeah.
preying on like parents' very real and legitimate concerns about their child and their child's education. And so, is there any way that we can like combat this? Can we fight against this in any way?
I mean, we can fight against everything. So yes, locally here we've had there's a lot of ongoing efforts. We have incredible groups like Save Our Schools who have been fighting the voucher expansion. Really educating people and raising awareness on the issue. The teachers unions, the Education Association. I work closely with them. They are very clear in what the issue is, and that is the vouchers and what Republicans consistently do and just proponents of school vouchers consistently do is kind of present, they use Arizona being so low nationally, they use that as a reason to justify the expansion. And that's obviously not the full story. The reason we are in this position is because every year, consistently, as the state has grown, as we have become, a hub in so many ways in certain industries, and people, Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the country, we've kept our school funding consistent and haven't increased the way you see in, states on the East Coast, for example, that rank much higher than we do. And so that's the issue. Instead of this $1 billion ballooning voucher program, we should be investing in public education and, leveling the playing field for students and for parents and families across the state.
Absolutely. And there are absolutely meaningful, real ways to do that that aren't a school voucher scam that's not going to help anybody except for people who want to privatize education. So when I'm thinking about Arizona, you guys are really scrappy. Your teachers, that is, because I'm always talking about Red for Ed.
Hmm.
Anytime anybody's like, you know, we can't fight back because we don't have a union, we don't have X, Y, or Z. Arizona teachers are the first ones to be like, we didn't have a union. We fought back anyways.
Yeah.
So I know what you said is so true. We can fight against anything. And do you have any is there anything like that you're working on in Congress right now that anybody can support you with? Do you have any recommendations for how those of us outside of Arizona can support you in this?
I would say that we need to be really vigorous when it comes to protecting the Department of Education. There's just a massive threat right now. During that hearing with Secretary McMahon, I asked her about her intentions when it comes to shutting down the department, and she said, "Well, we will do, we'll follow the law and whatever the law says." But then there was a decision that does somewhat pave the way for them to keep going after the department. So I would say the main push from the public needs to be supporting the department and protecting the department. We need so much of what the Department of Education does, and even if you believe that states should have more of a role in education and it should be determined at the state level, we still rely on federal funding. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the billions of dollars that were frozen in funding that impacted us here significantly. Myself, um, fellow members of the delegation, that our two senators demanded that these funds be unfrozen. And they were, thank God, ultimately. So that pressure does work. But any delay when you are 48th in the country makes a difference. It makes a big difference. I know a lot of after school programs were worried about whether they'd be able to operate. And like my constituents will tell you how much of a stressor that is for families when they think like, where am I going to take my kid if there's no option? What are they going to be able to eat at school? What do I need to do to make up for that when I'm a working parent, and can barely manage as it is? So please keep supporting the department, and then I would say just get involved in local efforts. Right now, local action is extremely, extremely meaningful because with so many federal attacks, I think working at the school board level, the city council level, state legislature level to expand local protections against these threats is going to be vital. It was vital during the first Trump administration, and it's even more so this time around.
One thing that the vouchers did in Arizona, you talked about a little bit, is like it blew a massive hole in the budget. 8 to 10% of federal funding is provided by the US Department of Education.
Yes.
And how in the heck are states going to make up the difference of that 8 to 10% if that goes away or if they change how it's allocated?
No, they can't.
No.
They can't. And again, like a state like Massachusetts or Connecticut that has been investing in public education, perhaps has more responsible approaches and has solutions. For us, that would be worsening an already horrific situation where classrooms are so overcrowded. There's some teachers that have more than 40 kids in the classroom here. Again, like these after school programs, the lunch programs, when it comes to social workers and students with disabilities. I've had town halls where I've heard from social workers who talk about just how overwhelmed they are because they were supposed to be helping a couple students and they're dealing with over 20 students in a class. So it would be impossible. But that's our own fault too. I mean, that is our fault. Our legislature just refuses to take public education seriously. We've been trying to flip these seats, for many years now. We have to win back the legislature. We also have to keep our governor in place here. That's something I'm really worried about in 2026. Where we've been so fortunate is having a Democratic governor who's able to at least veto so much of the crazy things that the legislature puts forward. And if we didn't have that, we'd be in a terrible place. But, as always, elections matter, elections have consequences. And that is where, if you're interested in getting involved, that's also where I would put my efforts over the next year.
Yeah, I mean, we have to because if there's federal attacks, the only way to combat it is at the state and local level. It
Yeah.
really cannot be overstated. And states do have a pretty good deal of control already about over their education systems. Like they keep saying, oh, we're going to give education back to the states, but we're also seeing them not allow states to do what they want to do. So
Yeah.
that's also another lie.
There's a lot of hypocrisy.
A lot of hypocrisy, but I'm
Yeah.
really appreciative that you're there and fighting the good fight. And thank you so much. We're going to keep an eye on this and keep supporting Arizona and the Department of Education however we can.